For Louisiana versus all y'all, Jarrett Roser here with Corey Lambert Sr., longtime coach, New Orleans. Got a couple of kids going through the high school ranks now, and Corey Jr., a 2022 prospect at Brother Martin, and Torey, a 2023 prospect. Waiting for those guys to finish up practice as they get ready for a state semifinal this week. But we talked some this week also about just some of the mental health aspects and preparation for that college level for some of these guys that have come to the forefront with some of the news out of LSU. And Coach Corey, I mean, you guys are getting ready for some interesting conversations, I think, with some parents to help prepare them for some of that process that you'll be talking to some folks starting in January. Tell me a little bit more about that. I really want to dive into some of the benefits there and some of the challenges that you saw that led you to want to have those sort of sessions.
Well, I'll tell you, what I've been doing is since I've been out of coaching, I've been dealing a lot with my boys over at with Bonice, who does a great job over here with my boys and really cares for the kids. But I've been helping a lot of other kids. I got kids, Javon Booton over in Texas. He's going to Navy. I help a lot of kids across the country. So it's like nationwide where I help a lot of these kids, these parents. They call people because, I've been fortunate and blessed to have great assistants, great assistant coaches. We check grades. I couldn't do a lot of this by myself. So, we've been able to put some guys in school, and guys have stayed in school. But just lately, we've been seeing a lot of guys not being able to function after getting there, either homesick, being that five-star kid who he just used to being the guy since freshman year through 12th grade and not the guy, or being on a national championship team, and a year later, guess what? You're a sub-pro team, and you're not getting. A lot of our guys look for accolades through other people, and what I'm trying to help is we got to start digging like we did as educators. I have a master's plus 30. I have a master's in education, supervision, and leadership. I have a master's in multicultural diversity and pluralism, race, class, and gender. One thing we doing in education with the kids that's going through this pandemic, we have to start teaching and learning the kid, then the content. Well, with this recruiting and with this school and scholarships and all this, what I'm dealing with my sons, I told them, we want to sit down and find out the best fit for you guys holistically. Okay, guys and coaches need to take the time, and even college coaches take the time to learn these kids, learn their upbringing, and not just bring names. Learn these kids, and because we happen to be coaches, we happen to be math teachers, we just happen to do those things. Okay, God give us the ability, but learn the kids we deal with. And some of these problems are becoming mental because these kids are either homesick, the food ain't that good, I'm not used to being away this long, or, I'm up here for football season, and after football season, I don't like it, or my friend's going to the draft, this one's opting out, I come in with these guys, this one's getting this, I was better than this guy, but this guy's it's becoming mental for our kids. So I want to be, in January, I'm trying to line it all up where I can come across short and brief. And my why is I was a high school player. I came out with Peyton Manning. We was some of the two top in the state of Louisiana. In '94, I went to college ball with Troy Davis. That was my roommate. He was the only 2,000-yard rusher back to back. It just got broken last year. So just, and I was a teacher, a head coach, an assistant coach, a principal, assistant principal. So I've seen it on all facets. I'm now helping a lot of parents, and what I'm doing is helping parents holistically, academically, athletically, and also the mental standpoint of it. Like I explained to my son the other day, I say, Corey, you love that Tony seasoning. Everyone don't have Tony seasoning, buddy. I say you love Tony seasoning, and he was just listening because Corey is a calculated thinker. He's a deep thinker. He's thoughtful. He's a bright. I tell him, man, you're the next Martin Luther King. Like he's very, very, very deep. Okay, and he thinks things through. And I say, Corey, dad and mom, we can't just ride. If you say you go somewhere far, you Can you just ride up there? I said, hey, you might not be the man for 2-3 years. How you going to handle that? Or your grades going to slip. What are you going to do? He said, Dad, I never thought about all that. I said, well, that's what you need to start thinking about, son. Like, all this other stuff is nice and dandy. They tweet your name. Hey, Corey, you going to so-and-so. Hey, Torey, great job. But, boy, when it's all said and done, you're sitting in that dome room. You're sitting in that classroom. And, boy, that coach, I say a coach named Coach Williams. He recruits you. Boy, he's the nicest guy on that weekend visit. And you get up there, you be like, man, he totally different. Like, those are the things we got to be able to handle. But what I'm instilling in my boys, it don't matter who's up there. See, it can't matter who's up there. You chose that because that's what you like for you, no matter who is the coach. Okay? No matter what jerseys look nice or the nice gloves or the color of the uniform. We choose the wrong thing sometimes, and those kids get caught up with it. That's why I come in as an advocate to kind of help these players and parents. And that's what I want to do, because I think a lot of our parents, they get misled with some of these things. And like education, we have to learn how to get everybody involved jointly in order for one thing to work. The community, the schools, the parents, the coaches, it has to be a joint process for all this to work. So that's why I'm trying to come in at, because I've been seeing this, and I have 2 boys coming up. And I'm a firm believer, when you help others, the good Lord always watches over yours and you. So that's my thing, and that's how I've always been when I was at John Ehret. My job was to make sure that those kids had everything they need at John Ehret. Every kid I came in contact, they reached back out to my boys, and they congratulate my boys, because one thing they knew, the same thing I did for them is the same thing I'm doing for my boys. So those are the things I want to give back, and I want to help these parents with the mental side and let them understand, okay, this is nice, Ohio State, LSU, and all these schools recruiting and love your son, and your son's a 5-star. But don't you know they recruited 17 5-stars, right? And they recruited 6 at his position, and they're 5-stars. How does he handle not being the guy? Because there's a chance he might not be the guy, not for a year, for 3 years. How is he going to handle that mentally? Do you know? If you don't, let's talk about that. Those are the things we got to get them prepared for. It's called putting a plan in place and anticipating our plan and dealing with some of those hiccups. So that's why I want to start at January.
And we mentioned you've got your guys coming up, that next generation of Lamberts coming through. I know a lot of my followers follow LSU very heavily, and a couple names they'll remember is you worked with Darrell Williams coming through Ehret. You worked with Mike Divinity, and that's just 2 LSU guys of dozens of D1 guys that you've worked with. And so you have been very close to that process for a lot of guys. And you've clearly seen a gap in sort of the resources and the awareness and support systems that are there at times for some of these guys as they try to make that transition from a high-profile recruit to a freshman in a new big pond.
Yes. Well, one thing that we instilled, and I'm gonna say we, because like I said, it takes your whole staff, the teachers, it takes everybody that's involved in that school for what you're playing. And one thing we did a good job of is making sure from their freshman year we tracked our kids. We didn't treat any of those kids more than the other kids. If Darrell Williams had to be there at 3, Darrell Williams can tell you, Darrell Williams had to be there at 3. So did the guy who was on scout team had to be there at 3. And if Darrell Williams was late, then Darrell Williams got left. I can remember Pascal, and Darrell Williams will tell you this. Coach Lambert left him. My receiver coach, who was pretty good with Darrell, they had a great relationship, still do, I think. He said, man, Darrell's on his way coming through the parking lot. I said, man, tell him, come on through the parking lot. And as soon as he came on, we left him on the bus for 7-on-7. Why was that so important? Because when Darrell gets to college, he may not be the Darrell Williams that first or second year. That college coach got a bunch of Darrell Williams. He has to be ready. When coach say 7, be there at 6:50. See, on time with us, you was late. We wasn't preparing them for high school. We were preparing them for college. College should prepare them for the next level, not even the NFL. Just think of life in your job. You know, like you text, you say, hey, are you free to? Yes, I'm free. You say, no, I'm good. Those things is communication. That's what sports will be able to teach them. And I do think coaches need to do better jobs doing that for kids. And it's going to help them. Stop turning a blind eye to these successful athletes and treat them just like you would your own child. And if you're allowing your own child to get away with those things, then you're not helping him. You know, Bonice is my witness. My son Torey, who has a 3.6 grade point average now. Torey first came to Brother Martin courses. He had a told Bonice, I said, if he doesn't make this project up, he's not playing that 8th grade team. I said, I went on the field, and Bonice said, Torey, did you make that project up, and did you check with your dad? And I gave him a thumbs up, and Torey was continuing to play. That's a person who's concerned. That same guy called my son, Corey, who had all A's in his class, and Corey had a 1 point away from a B, so he called around exams. He says, man, I got a problem with Corey. I said, damn, Corey got A's. Coach, what's going on? He said, no. Coach, you know, he's in 10th grade, and I know how you are about the grades and the core and this and that. He said, man, Corey needs to take that exam because he's about 1 or 2 points away. He has a B. And Corey, I said, Corey, you know, I said, you got to take. He said, nah, Dad. I said, Bonice said, you got to do it. He said, yes, sir, Coach. Yes, sir, Dad. You know, so long story short, we have to learn to prepare these young men for the next level. They are in our care longer than they're in care of their own parents. I'm just picking up my boys. It's almost 7 o'clock. Okay? My boys been gone since 7 o'clock. That's 12 hours. They're going to sleep for 8. That's 20 hours. I'm only going to see them for 4 hours. As the coach had him for 12. So who has the bigger impact? The coach. So I want to get with these coaches, not that I'm a know-it-all, that I have done it, and we've had success. I got Jarius Wallace, who graduated out in Arizona, working on his master's. He's playing in Arizona. Kirk Kelly graduated from Troy, worked on his master's. Michael Devaney went to LSU. Yes, he did go through some ringers. Yes, he did. I called him. I called LSU. I stay in contact. I tell them, I'm not their coach just for high school. I'm their coach for life. Call me anytime. I got some kids like Travis Mumphrey. I got these kids are all still calling. Hey, coach, look, this going on, that's going on. Jarius Wallace, hey, coach, I got this going on. I say, listen, man, you got your degree. You're up at Arizona. You're playing ball. You're working on the masters. You got to be able to have some of those people in those positions because it becomes mental for our kids. It's mental for our kids. They're used to being high-profile guys. They're used to not being told no. But I did that to those kids at Ehret. We made sure that those kids were prepared from 9th grade to 12th grade. And no, it wasn't all peaches and cream. But they did know I meant what I said, and I said what I meant. And I did not turn the blind eye to none of my superstar kids. Everybody was treated the same. And all my kids can tell you that. And that's what's important. I think that's being missed. Because a kid will come and be a senior, and then you say, well, hey, this kid don't have no grades. Well, what did you put in plan for this kid? Where's the data that shows that you put this in plan? Where is it? You know, we don't know what somebody going to be. I didn't know Corey was going to be a safety. Corey played quarterback and a little defense his whole life. Okay? Corey came here in the court. We sat down. I said, hey, son. I said, you've been rotating that safety. You've been playing something. He said, Dad, I won't play defense. Corey didn't think about touching the ball. Torey plays defense, and Torey also, I told you, he has a great chance of being a great running back at the school. He has a great chance, you know. But who knows? One thing I stay on academics. I stay on how you handle yourself. I stay on adversity. No, we're not leaving Brother Martin. No, we're not running away from talent. No, we're not doing that. You got to handle the mental side of it. And like I told him today, I said, Corey, you made our district. It came out. He said, Dad, it feels good. I said, you deserved it. You went through adversity. And sometimes hard work don't come that quick. Sometimes it takes years to show. But you have to continue to work. I can go on and on with this stuff, man. It's just fascinating to me.
From and you
You
wear
know.
so many hats related to this, from the parent side, the coach side, the administrative side. E- Everything we're talking about right now is such an issue. Any given year, and this year has all of its own additional challenges. With what we've seen through this COVID-19 impacted 2020, under any of those hats, how much have you seen just sort of the different social dynamics or any of that kind of amplify some of those already present issues in terms of how guys handle the academics or the mental training or mental toughness, or just kind of how they carry themselves through any of this, and just what have you seen be some issues, and what are some of the ways you guys have tried to approach that?
All right, I'll tell you this. That's a great question, and you have some great questions with that. But I tell you, I go back to this, and I go back to John Dewey. I'm a firm believer of data, and I read and leverage leadership, and being a servant leader. That's what I strive on, trying to be a servant leader. Am I perfect? No, none of us are perfect, but I strive on trying to be a servant leader, and in my passion. And you asked that question. I think the pandemic has opened up a curtain. I think these issues in the pandemic have been these issues. I do think those people who are willing to sacrifice, those people who are willing to not live like everyone else, or how they want them to live, or go where they need to go. Like, my boys understand. And it's been hard sometimes. Hey, man, you can't do some of these things because these are the repercussions. I think life has been like that, but I think we have been a little spoiled also. But I think now it's back to reality. And I think those coaches, I think those parents, I think those people who put the time in during the pandemic, who really put the time in during the pandemic, and opposed to some of those who say, hey, man, we ready for some football. Are we really ready for some football back then? Or are we just saying we're ready for football? Because some of these issues should have been addressed. The mental side was more important than your X's and O's. The mental side was more important to learn the kid than throwing the football, then lifting the weights. Hey, man, let's get, if we can't help them, let's get some people in here to talk to our kids. Hey, we got these kids from Dallas. We got these kids from here. We got these kids from here. Hey, guys, how's everything going? Hey, I know you probably lost some close friends. Yeah, people lost grandparents who were taking care of them. Yeah, people lost mothers and fathers who were taking care of them. So it was bigger than the X's and O's. It was bigger than getting back to football to lift weights. It was bigger than playing the jamborees. It was more mental. And now you're starting to see some of this opting out, opting here, not playing here, wanting to transfer, wanting to do this. These are some of the mental issues. Some of these things should have been addressed. And I think thoroughly, the way we put in the thorough time for football, the way I know as a coach, I see as a parent, but one thing I can say, my kids' head coach called and checked on them and his assistants regular. Not about football. How you guys doing? How is the family? That's very important, in this whole scheme of things. So the pandemic has opened up, hey, the curtains. We have to understand, we might be talking like this for a while. We may have to be more computer savvy. Those people with middle school education and those people with high school education, it might be a little rough, because when people start looking for jobs, those jobs that those people could do, if they're not compatible to do it beyond, they might not need them, or they may pay them according to their skill. We have to start thinking in that area too. It's bigger than the sports realm. The basketball. How do you feel about football? How do you feel about your parents not being able to go to the game? How do you feel about a cutout being in here? That's all mental. That's all mental. That's things they're not even used to. We're not used to. If we're having trouble with it as adults, how do you think kids feel? But who have asked the kids? How many times have we had in-deep conversation with the kids? they're the ones who are going through it too.
And we mentioned, I guess, in terms of some of that virtual aspect, and I mentioned some of these conversations you're going to be having in January. For folks that are interested in diving into some of these topics and having some of these discussions and just trying to kind of find some ways to better support these kids, what's the best way for them to kind of link up with you and make sure that they keep up with some of these opportunities that you guys are putting together?
Well, what I'm going to do is, when I get it all situated, it should be in about 2 to 3 weeks. I'm going to get with people like yourself. I'm going to get with some guys who do like 7-on-7s and some things like that. And I'm going to, some camps and things like that. And I want to be able to go on and get on the platform and even virtual, even in person if we're able to, and do some virtual times where I have it set up. And I'll have the website where they can link on and they can get on the parents. I'll have a night for parents. I'll have a night for players, and I have a night for high school coaches. And shoot the questions. Let's talk. And it's just called servant leadership. And if you ain't about servant leadership, then this call ain't for you, because I go back to John Dewey, two of his quotes that sticks with me. That which the best parent wants for their child, should that the whole community want for all children. That's John Dewey, and that sticks with me. He says, if failure has a face, then equity has an issue. That stuff sticks with me, because I'm a servant leader. I want all those kids who have an opportunity to be successful. It may not be in football, but the skills that you take in life to be credible, capable citizens, husbands and fathers in society is going to help you. When my son got a thing from Stanford today, the coach said, listen, we're eager to watch his film in the fall. We want his transcript and his things like that. The first thing he asked was his grades, because that's the first thing I send. I don't send his highlight tape. I send his grades. I send who he is as a person. Learn my son first. Then you look at his skill. Learn who my son is. Then look at his skill. My two boys are same mama, same dad. My two boys are different. Their sister is different. Learn my kids. When I first met Bernice, my son set out his 9th grade year at Brother Martin. All that stuff, illegal recruiting, follow the rules. My son set out at Brother Martin, his 9th grade year. He didn't play. My son Torey came in 8th grade. That's why he was able to play earlier. So when I sat down with Bernice, the first thing I told Bernice, I gave him a resume on my children. And I said, this one is this and this one is this. And he still remembers the resume. Learn my children first. We have to learn the kid first, then the knowledge. Teach the kid first, then the content, or the X and O's. Kids don't want to know how much you know until they know how much you care. They do not want to know how much you know until they know how much you care. Adonis Freelo, I helped him last year with his recruiting at Hornville. I called Saul for Maggio and said, hey, Coach, Saul to tell you, hey, so-and-so is coming now. Talk to his dad. And he had a decision between him and Houston and this and that. And Adonis is doing well, Jaquan Jackson, and all of these kids. I mean, helping these kids while I was out of coaching. With coaching, I was able to just help my kids because it would have been illegal to help other kids. The best thing ever happened is I got out of that arena, and thank God for the opportunity to be able to be a servant leader. Maybe God was calling me to do these other things, because now I'm able to help a bunch of children. And that's what it's about. It's about helping a bunch of children. And my children know I help a bunch of children, because I tell my kids, if you put cream in coffee, it will rise. If you up the cream, you will rise. Nothing's going to take away from my boys. If anything, God rewards us for doing his calling, and that's my calling. And that's why I want to do this. Servant leader, all in, advocating lifelong information nationwide. That's what I'm a firm believer of. So when I get these things rolling in the website things, I will reach out to you guys. if you got people interested, I have a night for parents, high school coaches, and for players, and we'll go from there. You know.
Yeah, I look forward to it, man, and I appreciate you taking a few minutes to chat about it. I'm enjoying having some of these more mental side of things conversations this week, as again that's come to the forefront a little bit more, and so I think people are a little bit more open to hearing a little bit more about it right now, and so I think it's a good time to have some of these conversations. And appreciate you
Yes, sir.
again.
Thank you, man, and look, thank you for reaching out, and thank you for taking the time. You know, I appreciate you've always been that type of person, and as I told my son when he asked me, he said Rozier is interviewing me. I said, hey, because usually he'll tell me here, I say, call my dad or this and that. I said, man, he's good people. He's been genuine, he's been 100, and he's always been honest, and he's always been for kids. So thank you. I appreciate the opportunity. I appreciate your time because I know you're busy.
Appreciate you again. Again, he's Corey Sr., Corey Lambert Sr. Longtime coach in the area. We mentioned his kids, Corey Jr. and Torey, getting ready for that big semifinal matchup this Friday night. And for Louisiana versus all y'all, Jarrett Roser.